My name is Jason, and this is Just Watches. Now, ever since it came out, I have been dying to get my hands on a Christopher Ward 12, so when the opportunity arose to borrow one for review, I jumped at it. I'm a huge fan of Christopher Ward, and I love all of their recent releases, and this one is no exception. However, before we get to the review, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. And if you're enjoying the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much. As for price and availability, at the time of this recording, this watch is available in 36, 38, and 40mm case sizes with a variety of dial colors and strap options. The watch also comes in stainless steel or titanium, so prices are going to vary from around $1,000 to $2,000 depending on the configuration you select. The case is 36mm in diameter. The lug-to-lug is a bit trickier to measure since the end links don't articulate. I do include those end links because they do make the watch wear slightly bigger, so I think the true lug-to-lug on this one is 48mm. It's extremely thin, it's only 9mm thick. And then this is an integrated bracelet. You can switch out the bracelet for a strap, but this is kind of a custom attachment point, so the lug width isn't super relevant here. And then this being the titanium one, sized up for my 6 3/4 inch wrist, it only weighs 72 grams on this bracelet. Now the first thing you notice when you wear this watch in titanium is that it's incredibly light. Some people dislike how light titanium is, but I love it because for me it makes wearing the watch so much more comfortable throughout the day. The second thing you'll notice is how incredibly thin this watch is. Oftentimes I talk about how the bezel and caseback absorb some of the overall visual thickness of a watch. With the 12, the watch is incredibly sleek and thin, even accounting for the bezel and caseback. Now, as you would expect from Christopher Ward, finishing is excellent, and we have high polished chamfers on the top and bottom of the brushed mid case. One neat detail is the name, the 12, comes from the 12 sides of the bezel, but the caseback mirrors those 12 sides and they all line up from across the mid case, which is a really cool detail. And then finally, we do have these crown guards. I really like how they look. They're very Oris-esque. They're connected with small, it looks like hex screws, securing them to the mid case and flanking that crown. Now, on an integrated bracelet watch, the bracelet is really important, and CW nailed it with this one. While the end links do not fold over, which does add to the true lug-to-lug distance and something you'll want to keep in mind when you pick a size, they do feature a quick release system, which is excellent for strap changes. Now, I don't know if there's aftermarket options, but you can get straps from Christopher Ward if you want to do a strap rather than a bracelet. Now, on this bracelet, the links very dramatically taper from about 21mm all the way down to 15 at this butterfly clasp. For finishing, we have mostly brushing on the top with high polished chamfered edges on the sides and in the center of the link. The bracelet catches light really nicely, but it isn't overly flashy since most of it is brushed. The clasp is that butterfly style with a twin trigger release, and while it can be hard on some watches to get the right fit, the links on this bracelet are very small, and then you also get half links, so you'll be able to get a nice size on this bracelet. And remember, we call them half links, but they're usually closer to 2/3 links, so adding or removing them in different combinations can result in very fine adjustment, much closer to 1/3 of a link. And then finally, the links use screws, which are really nice. It's going to make it very easy to size. Overall, I think they did a great job on this bracelet. It's visually cohesive with the head of the watch and very comfortable to wear. The exhibition caseback is super thin. Oftentimes an exhibition caseback will add thickness, but somehow they kept this watch razor thin, especially considering we have an automatic rotor on this movement. I'll never complain about an exhibition caseback. I always love to see a movement, so I like the choice here, especially when it adds only minimal thickness. Now, this watch is powered by a chronometer rated SW301. This movement is used in the titanium models, which is why they cost a bit more. This is a hacking, hand-winding, 28,800 vibration per hour movement with a 42-hour power reserve, and as this is the COSC version, it's going to be regulated to -4 to +6 seconds a day. The 5mm screw down crown is easy to access despite the crown guards. The finish on Christopher Ward crowns is always awesome. They generally use up to 3 finishes: high polish, brush, and satin, and they did this here as well. The crown is also signed with the Christopher Ward logo. Now, the threading, unthreading, and winding action are all smooth, and it's easy to wind and operate this watch via this crown. The flat sapphire crystal is ever so slightly proud of the bezel and has a facet around the edge that catches light. The crystal is treated with a well-executed anti-reflective coating, which really lets you appreciate that incredible dial. The dial on this watch is incredible. Let's start with the chapter ring. It's a slightly darker purple which adds to the gradient effect of the dial overall. The chapter ring also has dashes for each of the minutes. The dial itself has the Christopher Ward logo across its entire surface, and this is three-dimensional, so it will catch light in very dynamic and interesting ways. The effect is difficult to capture in a video, but looks fantastic in person. The hour markers are applied and extremely well finished. I love when applied indices have lots of angles and mixed finished surfaces, and this is a great example of those. All of those angles and finishes catch light differently, which makes the indices super dynamic, but also easy to read. They're also filled with Lume. Finally, we have the Christopher Ward logo at 12 and chronometer at 6. These 36mm versions do not have a date at 6, but that is available in the 40mm size. I love that they avoided text on this dial. I would even gone further and just dropped the chronometer at 6, but it isn't that distracting, and it really lets you just appreciate that really incredible dial. The hands are finished in a very similar way as the indices, with brushing on top and high polish angles on the sides. The minute hand is perfect length, terminating in the very middle of the chapter ring. The second hand is a simple high polish baton with a long counterbalance, and then those minute and hour hands are also filled with Lume. I think this is a very handsome handset that matches the overall design of the watch. The Lume here is Super Luminova X1 BLC1 and has a beautiful blue hue. Christopher Ward Lume used to be a weaker point of the brand, but they've done a good job of making it a lot stronger on these newer releases. So here is the watch on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. I think this is a perfect size for me and doesn't look too small. Also from the side you can see it's incredibly thin. Luckily this watch also comes in a 38mm and 40mm size if you do want something bigger instead. So pros and cons, starting with the pros. First, this is an incredibly elegant watch, especially in titanium. The finishing is excellent, which can be very difficult to do in titanium, and then it just makes it so light and comfortable wearing it throughout the day. Second, the dial is stunning, and this watch comes in many beautiful colors, and they just keep releasing more colorways for this watch, which I think is a great idea. Third, I love the hands and indices. They are really well finished, and I love when they used mixed surfaces and lots of angles. It just makes them catch light in a lot of interesting ways. As for cons, this particular dial color, while beautiful, it doesn't have the best contrast with the hands and indices, so it can be slightly hard to read in certain lighting conditions. Luckily, there's a lot of other colorway choices, and I think if you go with a darker one, you're not going to have this issue. Second, I would love to see Christopher Ward develop a quick adjust for their butterfly clasp like Formex has done. It gets hot where I live, and even a single quick adjust position can make a big difference in overall comfort throughout the day. As for comparables, I think it's impossible not to mention the Tissot PRX. I feel like Tissot was way ahead of this wave of integrated bracelet watches that we have seen coming out and is still one of the best ones. Now, it isn't going to be at the same level of finishing as the Christopher Ward, but it is less expensive, so you do have that option. And then for around the same price, you could consider the Nevada F77. I haven't had a chance to review anything from this brand, but I just really like how this one looks. So there you have it, the Christopher Ward 12 in 36mm and titanium. What do you think about this watch? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. And if you like the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. That's all for this time. My name is Jason, and you have been watching Just Watches.